Did you know that in 1913 Swedish Navy got their first flying boat? Hello and welcome to Imperfect Garden. My name is Robert and today we continue on the history about the Air Force of Sweden. Before the Swedish Air Force of today started in 1926, we have both the Navy and the Army buying airplanes and testing them to see maybe they can use this kind of new military vehicle in the future. And in this video we will continue on the Navy line of airplanes that they use between 1911 and 1926. In the previous video we talked about the Navy's first airplane and also the first military airplane in Sweden, and that was the Blériot 11 from 1911. The Blériot was heavily used, and after 1.5 years the whole frame was in really bad shape. But already in 1913 the Swedish Navy decided to take a reconnaissance trip down to Europe and visit a number of different airplanes manufacturers and see what kind of airplanes were available and what they could buy and take home to Sweden and continue on testing. The three airplanes they decided to buy was a French Hermann HF-23, a Newport 4 and the Donnet Lévêque that we were going to talk about today. The difference between these three planes is, of course, the Newport was a monoplane that is it's only two wings. The Hermann was a double-decker, and the Donnet Lévêque is, so interestingly, both a double-decker and also a flying boat. And that means that the whole frame is also the thing that floats in water. It doesn't have floats or pontoons. The body of the airplane is the pontoon. In the end of the summer of 1913, the Donnet Lévêque came to Stockholm, to Oscarfredsborg, that is an old military fortification at Vaxholmen outside of Stockholm. And also where the Navy had their first flying school. This flying boat, of course, had to have some sort of official name and Navy designation. And of course, as in Sweden, without any great imagination, they named it L1. And because it was the first sea boat, and the L, I think it's from the name of Lévêque, I hope. Otherwise I have no idea why they put an L in it. So L1 was the name. Also, when they bought the airplane, they probably got it very cheap because it didn't have an engine. It was an engineless airplane. But of course they knew that they have the Blériot engine left. Because when we stopped flying the Blériot, the first airplane, it was because the frame had got so much damage and couldn't bear the burden of flying anymore. But they saved the engine. So they took that 50 horsepower Gnome engine and put it in the Donnet Lévêque instead. Unfortunately for the L1, it had a lot of problems. It seems like probably the airframe was already in bad condition, and they only flew it for 3 years to 1916, and it doesn't exist anymore. They scrapped the whole plane eventually. But before they scrapped it, they bought another one. Another Donnet Lévêque, and that they named the L2. L2. Oh, this is a good imagination. The second one actually was already in Sweden and used in a flying school in Sweden. The interesting thing too, in the video you will see very soon from the Air Force Museum, that is the L2 that still exists. It got saved. That is a two-seater. The first one, the L1, was a single-seater. Also, the L2 had a stronger engine. Remember, it was only a 50 horsepower Gnome engine in the L1. The L2 had already an 80 horsepower Gnome engine. So it's the same Gnome engine, you know, with the propeller and the engine as a whole package is rotating. The history of the L2 was it got sold to the Navy for the sum of 10,000 Swedish crowns, which in 1913 was a lot of money. It actually flew all the way to 1918, and 1919 it was decommissioned and saved in the Technical Museum in Stockholm in Sweden. They flew actually 131 hours. But I can't see, I have to try to look how many flights they did, because the Blériot, the first airplane, they did like 100 flights, and I can't see it here, but it was 131 hours at least. Let's take a deeper look into the technical aspects of the Donnet Lévêque. Of course, as you obviously can see, it's a double-decker. The top wing is much larger than the lower wing, and also it's a push engine. That means that the propeller is in the back and pushing the engine and the airplane forward, instead of the normal way, the usual way when you have propeller that is a pulling propeller. As with most airplanes during this time, it's covered with cloth. It's not the all aluminium or metal covered airplane yet. So it's a cloth that is over a pipe construction. The Blériot is more like wood and cloth, but this is have a pipe construction in the wings that they have like wrapped a cloth over. And of course, it's a seaplane. That means it's a flying boat. It's not an airplane with a body that have like pontoons or floats underneath. The frame, the body, is the boat, the thing that makes it float. The whole length is 7.9 meters and 11.6 meters between the wingtips. The weight, around 500 kilos. I have found different weights, but somewhere around 500 kilos. The Donnet Lévêque was of course a French flying boat, and it was you could say it was a version of the Curtiss flying boats, the American Curtiss from the H4 Curtiss flying boat. And they were designed by Donnet. The top speed was a little bit faster than the Blériot, topped out at 108 kilometers per hour. It's not a very fast airplane, but it had a longer range, like the Curtiss flying boats that were the original copy of this. It was a long-range airplane that was meant to fly. It seems like the Swedish Navy never put any arms on the L2. They could have done it because it was a two-seater, so the pilot is in the back, and in the front you have another one, often the scout, because they were going to use this as a reconnaissance airplane. But of course you could add on like a smaller machine gun if you wanted to, and they will do it during the First World War, not in Sweden, but in other countries where they use this kind of twin-seating airplanes. So the first kind of airplanes didn't have like the fixed machine guns, but they maybe have like a small a small wicker or something like that to shoot at the other planes. Well, this was all for this video. We still need to talk about the other two airplanes that the Swedish Navy bought in 1913, but that will be in a later video. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this short video, and well, give me likes and comments if you want to. Goodbye and have a very good day.